I'm Nick Forster, this is ETown. JJ Gray and Mofro are going to be back playing some more music in a little while. And coming up, Ray LaMontagne and his great band, the Pariah Dogs, are here. Right now, before those guys come out, every week we get to share a story with you that came from one of our listeners. This is someone that we have learned about from someone out there in our radio audience. It's essentially a story of someone who has inspired our listeners enough to encourage them to share that story with us so we can share it with you. These are just simple stories of people stepping up, looking at a problem right where they are and deciding they can have an impact, they can make a difference, taking a few small steps in a great direction, and they always add up. It's the Achievement Award is made possible by a grant from the Bohemian Foundation, and here comes Helen to tell you about this week's winner.
Thank you, Nick. This week's story comes to us from listener Ingrid Walsh. She's nominating Paula Dupre-Pessman. Paula worked as an associate producer in Hollywood on films like the first 3 Harry Potter films, Mrs. Doubtfire, and Rent. Most recently, she was producer of the Oscar-winning documentary The Cove. During production of the Harry Potter films, 2 things happened that would change her life forever. A chance connection with a little girl with cancer, and Paula's own first-hand experience with the impact of her husband's cancer on their lives. These 2 circumstances inspired her to take a break from her career in film to create a nonprofit program that provides much-needed support for critically ill children and their families. And Nick, I'm excited that Paula is able to join us in person to tell us more about this. So let's bring her out right now. This week's Achievement Award winner, formerly of Los Angeles, California, now living in Boulder, Colorado, Paula Dupre-Pessman.
How are you, Paula?
Great.
Doing okay?
Yeah,
Thank you for joining us. Can you tell us a little about that first sort of chance encounter that Helen mentioned?
My husband Kurt had just finished his, he had advanced colon cancer, so he had just finished his ordeal, going through radiation, surgery, chemo, and we flew back to London for Harry Potter, where I was working, and the first day back on my job, my phone rang and it was a misdirected call, and it was for a child who was dying and who wanted to see the film.
Wanted to see Harry Potter.
Yeah, before it was released. I mean, she wanted to see it, and she wasn't going to probably make it to the release.
Wow, so what an amazing wrong number. That's just incredible.
It was life-changing for me.
Did you work it out?
Yeah, we did. We had a screening for her, and she passed away 3 weeks later, and her photo still hangs over my desk.
Oh, wow. So that changed you forever, I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
So here you are, you're working in films, you're working in this sort of fast-paced environment, lots of people and travel, and in some ways must seem kind of extravagant. And then you're faced with these really life-changing kind of circumstances. So what happens? What do you do with that? What do you do with that experience when you go back to your world?
Well, after that day and I received the letter and the photo, I went to the producers and the director and the studio and started a program welcoming the sick children from around the world, and spent much of my time with over 60 families that came from around the world, critically ill children, and I just saw what it did to everyone around us, the whole crew. Pretty soon the makeup people were putting scars on their foreheads, the costume people were tailoring robes, and the grips were lifting up wheelchairs, the owls were coming in on their chairs, and I just saw how everybody became a part of it, and they all really wanted to do something. They just didn't know how to do that, and when it was presented, they joined in.
Yeah, you were sort of privy to this entirely secret and special place that was incredibly attractive, and so you must have gotten to know the families as well.
Oh yeah, very well.
So 60 kids, I mean, you're developing a program almost, right?
Yeah, we named it after one of the kids. Her name was Ellie, and she just really touched my heart, and we called it Ellie's Wish Kids. So any child that was critically ill or terminally ill could come if that was their wish.
Well, and how did you find these kids?
They started finding me. They came in twos. It was like a fax and an email, or a call and an email, and it seemed like they always would come in twos. And it was from organizations all over the world, but once the reception knew somebody was taking care of it, the calls were routed to me, and the studio would send calls and letters.
So once that film wrapped and you're back into your real world, how do you how do you then take that inspiration and turn it into something that can keep going?
I struggled with that because I found that thing in me that was really inspired by these families and what they went through. So I talked with many of those families and learned that they were very isolated. People didn't really know how to help them. So I was trying to figure out how we can do something that isn't already out there and connect people who want to help to the people who need it. And that's how we started it.
And what kind of help are you talking about? Helping the families themselves? Just
Yeah, whatever's stressful for the family. So you listen to them and you learn, maybe they have 5 kids and you learn, they're trying to keep up with their house cleaning and their laundry, and we can go do their laundry, or their car's broken, get their car fixed.
Wow. And so you coordinate volunteers and other people, and then you just learn what they need and then make sure they get it.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you must have had to set up an organization that could channel all that information and connect volunteers with families in need. And
yeah.
How does that work?
Well, that's where the producing, I think, plugged in.
Okay.
Kind of logistically, getting things taken care of, and just listening. After about 2 minutes on the phone, 2-3 minutes, you hear what's stressful. And it's a real privilege to be able to take that off and let them focus on their child.
Oh, that's cool. How long do you work with a typical family?
About 3 months is the average, but we have families that it's a week and some that it's 3 years. We're there through the medical crisis, so we don't come in and out of their life. We make sure we hold them till they're across the street.
And how do you find the volunteers?
Volunteers we recruit. We go to fairs. But a lot of it's word of mouth. People will tell their friends or their family what they're doing, and they say, oh, well, I have an auto shop. Maybe I can help fix cars, and maybe I can do babysitting, and maybe I can drive. And it's just a lot of word of mouth, I would say.
It's cool because you think about what, I'm sure there's lots and lots of agencies that provide help and support for people in need in these circumstances, but predominantly it's medical care or hospital care or hospital transportation or direct financial support or whatever. But you're really thinking about ways in which you can reduce stress in these families' lives at a really critical time.
It's true, and also to have a range of things so that we aren't giving them what we want to do. Maybe after they've gotten rides to radiation, that period may be over, and now maybe they're home and they need groceries brought to them. So we try to stay flexible and make sure that we're keeping that stress off a little bit.
Do you have a bunch of volunteers? You have a lot of people so far?
We have about 350 active volunteers.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah, that's cool. And so you can really help. I'm assuming that helps a lot of people.
Yeah, we started 4 years ago. We were at about 10 to 15 at one time, and now we're at 80, 85.
85
active cases.
Oh, active cases, and those are families.
Those are families.
Oh,
80,
wow.
yeah.
So that's a big bunch of people, because that could be 4 to 6 people.
Yeah, it is. It averages 4. So.
Wow. And so you've been able to provide these kinds of services at no cost to families at a time they really need it.
Yeah.
And they can find you, and it's again kind of word of mouth. The families find you by word of mouth.
The families come to us through the social workers, because they know the financial situation, they know the support, and the medical. So they come to us and say, here's the story, here's what we need, and they tell us all the time. They call us when they don't know who to call. So it's helping.
Do you measure the kind of an impact and amount of food provided or hours of volunteer help or anything like that? I mean, it doesn't.
Yeah, we do.
We know it's a lot.
We've provided over $800,000 worth of volunteer time since starting 4.5 years ago, and we've delivered 250,000 pounds of food in our cars.
Right.
So yeah,
it's pretty amazing, and I love the fact that just sort of because you were associated with this exciting film and this thing that was attractive to young people, and also because there was a wrong number. And you didn't just say, oh, sorry, you won't get a wrong number. This was just something that you were open enough to actually embrace. It's remarkable, really, Paul.
yeah, it found me. I'm very blessed.
Oh, it's so cool. Love those kind of stories. And again, the name of the organization?
There with Care.
There with Care. And there's a website?
Yep, it's therewithcare.org.
Yeah. So if people want to know more or see, they can probably see photos and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I just think it's the very positive side of serendipity and misdialing. So congratulations. There with Care. We've got a Frank B. Achievement Award certificate for you to share with your volunteers and your staff. Congratulations again, and thanks for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much.
Paula Dupre-Pessman. there with care, helping families in need. Congratulations, Paula.
The Achievement Award is made possible by a grant from the Bohemian Foundation, building stronger communities through the Bohemian